story with that.
Yeah. I just want to add to what Lenika just said. I think it's very important for you to keep that core as a focus. I'm saying, irrespective of who you are, woman, you have disability, that core has to be there, and you have to just keep your eye on that. It's like Arjun ki aankh wala situation. So, many times I give example about, I love cricket. So I give example of Sachin Tendulkar. When Sachin was 13 or 14 or 15, he wanted to play cricket, right? Now, did he have money to play cricket? Guys, girls, did he have money to play? Did he have anybody in his family who ever played cricket? And did he have a school where they were expert in cricket? Nothing, right? And he kept on playing. He just had the focus saying that I want to be the best in the cricket. And I don't know how many of you know, first, when he went and played in Pakistan, he got bowled so badly that he had a cut in his head around his eyebrow. And I think Akram bowled him or Imran Khan bowled him. And he said, Bache ghar wapas ja. Right? But the guy said, my core is I want to become a great cricketer. And I think in that match, he scored a century or something. So what is the message that we are getting here from these kind of people is, or for anybody, irrespective of who you are, as long as you're focused on your core in your life, I think you'll be able to achieve it and you'll do it very well. Yeah, sorry, I
No, no,
just pulled that.
it was very helpful. I think
Yeah.
you put it you gave a perspective with a
Yeah.
nice example of Sachin.
Yeah.
I think it's very important, and for all of you now who will be coming to the organizations, the framework is being set up. It's, I think, somewhere it started. If not here, at least we are in the journey, and it's much better when maybe Linika or I would have started my career, because we face so many challenges. But now I think companies are supporting all of this, right start from the hiring to retaining to for returning to workplace after sabbatical, maternity. There are a lot of options available. So as both of them said, that don't lose your focus, keep focusing, and you'll be there. Support system is there. Of course we need to do a lot more, but so Rakesh, one more thing I would want to know. You for financial industry, NBFCs and banking. There are a lot of products which are coming up and which have been there, and the industry introduces newer ones. Anything which has been specifically to cater to this DNI, where you would have come up with any product keeping in this particular segment or aspect in mind?
Yeah, so there is a very basic loan that a lot of companies today give to women in the villages. And Bulletin, where I used to work, we used to create women self-help group. It's very important to understand what we were trying to do is that women at home know how to milk cows, right? Or they know how to stitch. So what we are doing is we are giving them loans for 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 to go and buy a cow or a buffalo. And on an average, they would get a milk which is worth 150 rupees a day. So in a month, she would make around 4,000 rupees. And out of that, we would take away 1,200 rupees or 1,300 rupees. But over the period of time, she's becoming independent. She doesn't need to ask her husband for money. She can take a loan from a company, go and buy a cow or buffalo, sell the milk and make money. So that's something which is, we called it granny loans, or self-help group. And this concept started in Bangladesh, and it is really taken everybody was strong. And all this is possible because of the technology that we have. And otherwise it wouldn't have been possible. Apart from that, all of you have heard about HUL, Hindustan Levers. They started a concept called Grahani. And the simple thing that they did, they went to villages, they appointed one lady in the village to be their distributor. And she would buy stocks from Hindustan Lever for 2,000 rupees or 2,500 rupees and go door to door and sell. So now what is Hindustan Lever getting out of it? It is social objective, helping women on the one side, Secondly, they are getting profit because it's helping them in terms of making distributor and selling products. So there are various schemes. There are different ways people are getting help in terms of getting into business or in terms of becoming independent. So all that is available. And end of the day, it's about finance. Like I told you about Alibaba, and spoke about Ant Financial. That's what Ant Financial is doing. There are people in the villages who are very poor, but they're giving them loans. They're able to buy more products. They are able to sell it. They get their money, and they're done. And apart from that, these kind of poor people don't have place where to invest money. So where do they keep money? They keep it in cash. So what Alibaba did, they came with another company, Taobao, if I'm not mistaken, where people could invest their money also and get 5%, 10%, 12% rate, which otherwise the money would have just been sitting in the bank. So the entire Jan Dhan Yojana, sorry, I'm just extending it a little bit, but this topic is so close to my heart. The entire Jan Dhan Yojana which the government of India did, the amount of money which came into the entire banking system, because all this money was sitting as cash in people's houses. So the entire Yojana got all the money into the banks, and the banks could lend it. These guys could get interest for the money that they were doing. So I think those are some of the things which are happening in the financial world.
Wonderful, wonderful to know all of this.
Nazir, can I interrupt for a minute? May I request Meghna to please speak and throw some light on the Pride ERG? What and how does it interact? Because they're going to be part of organizations. Maybe Linika can talk, maybe you can talk, whoever can. Sorry, I'm interrupting moderations. It's important they understand, and they also understand the pronouns that were tagged in your name and that of Vidushi's, and were not tagged along with other speakers. So it's I think, a good idea to understand.
No, sure, I can talk a bit about that. So, as we've heard already, large organizations are making many formal efforts to be more inclusive. One of the ways in which companies do that is that they hire people in dedicated roles. They pay the money to run inclusion efforts. Linika is one of those people, right? So her formal role is to do DE&I. I am not one of those people. My formal role is to speak with executive leaders. But I run what we call an ERG, or employee resource group. So these are it's by employees for employees spaces that existed well before formal roles. Formal roles are new. ERGs are the things that employees used to do when they didn't have those formal structures, but they still felt the need for support. Some of the earliest ERGs were, of course, for women, right? Which helped when women were not getting return to work programs, or when women were not getting good maternity leave policies. These became the spaces that they could come to and talk about their issues. And they could get support from other women mentors who might be in more senior positions. And they could then lobby the organization to create the things that they needed. After that, then came things like Pride. So Pride is an employee resource group that stands for the LGBTQ plus IA population, right? People whose sexual or gender orientation is not what we would consider normal. So someone say, a woman who's attracted to a woman, or someone who was biologically born male but does not feel as if they are male. They feel as if they are female. Essentially a transgender woman who may or may not have physically transitioned. And any other spectrum of sexuality or gender that we would not consider normal, quote unquote. Historically, again, as women were earlier, these people have been excluded from the workforce in two ways. One, formally, where trans people, you must have seen even in our society, right? They are not let into schools. They don't get education. They don't get formal employment opportunities. So they're just literally excluded. They can't get into work. But the other is someone who is gay or lesbian might not very obviously look it. So they can go into the workforce, but they're constantly spending half their mental energy hiding their identity. Let me not mention my partner, because then people will know. If someone says, oh, you single woman, aren't you getting married? I have to come up with a reply to that so that people don't suspect. Like, a lot of the energy goes into that kind of conversation versus being able to do my job, right? So that's when these kind of, like, what we call Pride, LGBTQIA resource groups came up. How to help employees who are from different sexual and gender orientations feel comfortable at work, first of all, and how to ensure that our policies and our infrastructure are inclusive for these people. For example, gender neutral washrooms. Recently, Gartner implemented this really interesting thing called a self-ID program. So we said that, look, again, with women, we have numbers. We have numbers to say, these are your gaps in women entry into the workforce. These are your gaps in women leadership. You need to fill these gaps. For most other population, we don't have any numbers. So how do you tell your CEO that you are lacking, and the CEO will say, give me proof? Self-ID is a program that allows people to safely disclose sexual gender orientation, but also any kind of hidden disability. Their names aren't taken, but we get aggregate data on how dismal our rates of just basic diversity are. Forget inclusion, belonging, equity, all of that. Basically, are we able to represent the number of people that we see in the world in the organization? No. This program allows us to get a sense of that. And this is one of the things that the ERG pioneered. We said, this is the problem, fix the problem. So these are the kinds of things that an employee resource group does. It gets the voice of employees, takes that up to leaders and tell them, here is the change that you need to make. That's sort of what I do. The pronoun, thank you so much for asking that, because that is why I put it in my profile to spark this conversation. Again, many of us, because we are what we call cisgenders, we are born biologically female and I identify as a female. I'm okay with people assuming I'm female. I'm okay with all the expectations that come of being female, right? Dress a certain way, look a certain way, talk a certain way. All of these things are what we call gender constructs. You're born female, and then here is what society expects you to be because you are female. It all works together great. Not so for some people. They might be born female, but feel incredibly out of sync with what a woman is supposed to be. They feel more in sync with what a man is supposed to be. When you meet that kind of a person, right, and you automatically just make an assumption, oh, you know, I can see you look a certain way, you're probably a woman, and you start talking to them in that way. The use of pronouns allows us to do two things. One is it allows us to tell other people that I may look like a woman, but I am actually a transgender man. I am somewhere in my process of transitioning to also look like a man. But in the meantime, one of the ways in which you can support me is by referring to me as a man. Instead of having to give this big speech, you just put your pronouns in. So people know that, okay, these are the pronouns I have to use when talking to this person. The other is it allows us to express allyship. So I might be a cis female, but if a trans person sees those pronouns, they already know that this person is an ally. They understand that not everyone is born female and is a woman. There are other kinds of people, and this person is open and accepting. So that's kind of why I put my pronouns in. Long explanation, but we found it to be incredibly impactful. All of our leaders at the company, it's a standard kind of guidance now. Everyone does it. And I've had numerous people from the queer community come and tell me how validating it was for them to just see that. That's that.
Very good. I think allyship is something which is very powerful, because you're not from that particular community, but you stand for them. You're with them, right? That's how you see allyship. And it's very powerful in giving or making people feel safe in that environment so that they can express themselves, they can be what they are. So I think we'll wind up with one last thought. Each of you can, leave this entire group with how they should look forward, or what do you perceive in next 10 years, how the situation will be, how progressive it could be, or there's still, bottlenecks and may take longer. For what do you think? With a lot of efforts that are going on.
So I very strongly think in the next 10 years, as a country, there's going to be a lot of inclusion. People are going to understand things that we are talking about: pronouns, sexual orientation, physical disability, neurodiversity. I think a lot of this will be understood. In 10 years, this will be a norm. I think the focus is going to be more on inclusion, culture, belonging. And we are not going to be talking about diversity anymore. I mean, diversity would exist and we would say everybody is different. And that is why the whole inclusion and belonging is very important. So this is going to be the change in the next step.
You, Meghna?
Yeah, it's it's a great space, very exciting, and I think it's going forward in a wonderful way. The question that I would encourage all of you to ask yourselves is, what role do you want to play in it? Because we will have a diverse and inclusive world. It will not be okay to be discriminatory. Do you want to live in that in a way where, yes, you're doing it because it's okay, but you feel uncomfortable? Or do you want to be a part of that? Do you want to question the things that you've done, ask yourself uncomfortable questions, ask people around you uncomfortable questions, point out those biases, and try and constantly learn? Is really the thought that I'd leave all of you with is, what do you think you're going to do in the next 10 years as we become more inclusive?
Yeah, so I think my colleagues have talked about it. I can only tell you guys, most of you would like to go and do your own startups and look at this as an opportunity, guys. I would again repeat, look at it as a big opportunity. And I don't know how many of you are aware, MasterCard is doing a whole lot of project on this using technology. There are 2 billion people in this world who don't have bank accounts. And MasterCard has already picked up and they're already using technology to bring in more and more people into that framework. And they already covered 500 million people. So when you guys get in, complete your graduation, I'm sure there'll be still 1 billion people will be there. So take those opportunities, use that. And I would also say that don't commit the mistake of, you know, uh, doing something like what HUL did. I don't know how many of you are aware. Uh, Hindustan Lever's company like Unilever came with an ad on Fair and Lovely. It was a horrible ad. They went around and they said, if you are a black, तुम काली हो तो तुम्हारी शादी नहीं होगी, तुमको job नहीं मिलेगा. And it got such a backlash in the market that they had to pull out the entire product. So imagine a company like Unilever doing that kind of mistake, discriminating against color. And then finally they had to call it Glow and Lovely. I don't know if you guys have read about it. Please read about it because they got bashed by the advertising fraternity also, saying that how could they bring a product like that? And then to withdraw it all over the globe, actually, because it's a global product. So imagine the harm it can do. Recently, on Holi, Bharat Matrimony, they had made the same mistake. They showed a woman with color on her face, and then they showed that after she washed her face, she had a whole lot of bruises on her face. Now, there was so much backlash saying that, why are you linking Holi to all this? What are you trying to say? You know, so be very careful in the communication that you're doing and be very firm. Don't take discrimination at all. You know, I'll just take a minute. I had when I was city, me and my friend were standing in a queue, and the foreigner walked in, and we are standing in a queue, and the lady calls the foreigner to come and do the check-in. My friend, she created a scene. She pulled on the entire hotel. She said, "I've been standing here before, and within my own country, if my people treat me like this, then what's going to happen to us abroad?" So, guys, we are a powerful nation. We are number 4 in the world today. So, go all out, do your dreams, enjoy the life. That's what I'm going to communicate to all of you. Yeah.
I'm just adding a point. You've just brought something up very close to my heart. The linguistics of exclusion and the linguistics of exclusion. And you can alienate a whole ethnicity by the linguistic applications. And this is something which I think, linking 2 things, Ashish Vidyarthi ji's my type and not my type, and the language of expression. If the young audience in the crowd can take a note of it, I think very powerful.
So now we'll open the floor for any questions from audience. Okay, I think there are people raising their hand.
Very good evening to all the panelists. I'm Rinal Kumar Chabe. So my question to the panel is that, like, if we talk about diversity, taking women on panels and on the workplace is one leg of it. What about the other leg? What about the LGBTQ community in context of Indian workplace? So like, what are your takes, and how much time how much time it would take to see a change at the workplace?
Hi, Mrinal. Great question. See, the change is already happening. A number of financial sector organizations particularly have put in place specific programs that recognize that particularly trans people in the LGBTQ plus community have not had formal access to education. So how do we bring them into the workplace gradually? Specialized internships just for trans people where they can enter the workplace, learn basic professional skills, and then be a part of the workplace. Because otherwise, obviously, people like a qualification, right? That's one. Another is slightly trickier, but yes, trying to have more open out LGBTQ plus people be a part of panels. There's still a societal barrier, of course, around that, because say you're out at work, but you're not out at home. And then you go to a panel and you're like, what if my father watches this? That can be quite tricky. So that's still hard on us in a societal context, but I think in work, we're moving by leaps and bounds from what I've just seen in the past 5 or 6 years. Even when I entered the workplace, I would not have expected as much open inclusion as I found when I came in, and as much of a deliberate focus right from senior management on saying we need to be more deliberate in our inclusion of LGBTQ plus people. In work, I think it's happening. The societal barrier right now, at least from what I see in India, is greater. Is actually finding the people out there who are, who will willingly disclose sexual or gender orientation, and then being like, well, come work for us. That bit I'm finding trickier.
I think the larger question is understanding. Sensitization is very important. See what organizations are saying. Organizations are not saying we are inclusive of, it doesn't really matter. See, your sexual orientation is my sexual orientation, right? It has nothing to do with the work that I'm doing. So what is very important is a lot of organizations have an open up framework, which basically means we sensitize people. We tell people that this is what it is, which means when you start working in an organization, you already hear there are sensitization happening. People are using pronouns. There are employee resource groups. There is an allyship, which means this organization is open to any sexual orientation. It doesn't really matter. See, when you go for an interview and somebody starts telling you, oh, I have a gender neutral washroom, please use your pronouns. And if you are from that community, you will say, boss, what the hell? What do you mean you have this, you have this, you have this? Before even I have joined, you are telling me you are excluded. Right? So which is not the case. The idea is the industry, everybody, I think there is that societal picture of the people standing on the red lights, etc. Right? But as an industry, it doesn't really matter. What sexual orientation the person brings on the table, it just doesn't matter. You want to open up, open up. If you don't want to open up, don't open up. But gender neutral washrooms, use of pronouns, employee resource groups, they just make you comfortable that this organization is open to any sexual orientation that I may have. And that is the endeavor. See, we don't want to pinpoint diversity, LGBT, PWD, disability. No. Irrespective of whatever diversity you have, the idea is you should feel included. That is very simple. Sorry for being long on a short question.
Last question to you. Just some of us will be going out like in foreign for the jobs, wherein diversity is not limited to women only. So what are the do's and don'ts that we must follow? Because in Indian context, we are not that much conscious about working with a LGBTQ member. So what are the do's and don'ts?
You don't have to follow any do's and don'ts. And what do you mean you are not comfortable working with an LGBTQ person? See, it's very simple. आप वही वाली बात आपने सुनी ना, आप अमीर घर से हो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, आप गरीब घर से हो क्या फर्क पड़ता है? You just have to work with colleagues. You don't have to see what do I have to take care when I work. You are understanding this whole charter in a very wrong direction. It doesn't really mean that It just simply means you have to consider everybody equal. That is what this charter is all about. Anybody, if it's a women colleague, if it's a person from the community, if it's somebody who has a disability, you have to consider that person equal. Agar aap, if to a person with disability, you will show a lot of sympathy, the person will not like it because the person is independent and he is going to work equally with you. So the only thing that you have to think when you go out for work is everybody is equal.
I think we can use the way you don't want you to be treated.
Yeah,
The same
correct,
applies.
correct.
जैसा आप अपने लिए चाहते हैं कि लोग आपको treat करें, the same you have to give it to others, right? Nothing much more people are asking.
Also, I mean, it's a good question because we get it a lot. Because I get it. People want to be inclusive, but they're afraid because they get worried about all these terms that you hear, right? There's so many different terms. D, E, and I itself has evolved as a term so many times. And you're like, I'm worried I'll say the wrong thing. I'm worried I'll look the wrong way. As organizations, we are creating guidelines for you, right? That's the first thing, that most organizations that are invested in DE&I already have a number of guidelines in place about these do's and don'ts, basic things, right? Because we know that, sure, some people might have different levels of understanding. Is what is a way to use more inclusive language? What are some questions that you shouldn't ask people? Those guidelines exist and they're a part, at least at my company now and most companies I know, of onboarding. Is what is a way to practice inclusion on a day-to-day basis. And you must remember that if your intent, as Vinika said, right, if your intent is to be equal, to treat people equally, it comes across. And so even if you make a small mistake, even if you use the wrong
That is
pronoun,
fine. Yeah, that is fine.
people will correct you. And as long as you open that correction, you'll learn and you'll grow, as all of us do. Even as D&I practitioners, I learn every day about how to be more inclusive towards various kinds of diversity. All of us will. Don't worry about it.
Hey, I have a question that is threefold. One is when you talk about diversity and inclusion, just building diversity takes more conscious efforts, right? Now, we've often noticed, even at Fool, when we're hiring, say we have a job opening, right? And we receive 100 applications and only 5 of them are from women. So automatically the probability that she will get selected becomes really, really low. So how do you ensure that even the pool of candidates that you have to build that diversity is itself diverse, right? Now, the second thing that happens is that if you have, say, a mandate that you have to build, for example, gender diversity. Now, from that pool of candidates, it's possible that you will end up selecting the minority, let's say in this case, if it's a woman, right? Even if she might not have as much qualifications as the best person in that pool of candidates, it's highly possible, right? There's a probability. How do you solve the dilemma of doing the unjust thing for the larger just, right? Of building the diversity and inclusion, but at that point having to be unjust to the most deserving candidate amongst that pool. And finally, how do you sort of convince companies to invest not just in training and development and building inclusive policies, but also to invest in mobilization? Because that requires a lot of right resources to ensure that you're reaching out to diverse pool of candidates who know that you have an opening, say, and they can actually apply. So yeah, this is the broader range of questions.
I'll take an attempt to answer this question. See, when we talk about diversity, we don't say you have to have this percentage of a gender ratio. See, what do we say? We say you should have a gender proportionality principle. What does a gender proportionality principle mean? At the bottom of the pyramid, which is when you enter the organization, the percentage needs to be 50-50. When you go from the bottom to the mid, it needs to be 50-50. Then as you go up, it should be 34%. We are not saying that you should have 70% women and 50% men. That is not what we are saying. We are only saying to have the best productivity, you should have 50-50-50. You know, when a lot of organizations tell us we are an only women organization, that is not what is diversity. Right. Diversity is about having an equal percentage of men and women. So you have to have the right proportion. What are organizations investing in? See, the challenges that women have always faced in interviews is the panel is all men panel. If you have an all men panel, how will they understand the perspectives of the women? That is why we say the panel should be inclusive, which means it should have a 50% men and 50% women. They need to be inclusive interview. What does that mean? You would have heard a lot of time a women being answered, so when will you be getting married? Okay. So you are married, you would be expecting a child soon. We've all had those instances, right? Where such questions are asked. This is not inclusive interview. You cannot ask, अच्छा आपकी शादी कब हो रही है, शादी हो रही है तो बच्चा कब होगा, आप कौन सी सिटी में रहोगे, आपके हस्बैंड क्या करते हैं, वो मोबाइल जॉब है क्या, आप अगला 5 साल मेरा प्रेडिक्ट करना चाह रहे हो कि मैं करियर में क्या करूंगी. But these questions are never asked to a man. So as industry, what are we saying? We need to have gender inclusive panels. We need to have gender inclusive conversations. We need to have gender inclusive job profiles. We are somewhere saying, don't write your pronouns. Just write, while in India, even if you write Linika, it will be assumed that it is a female name, right? But you don't need Mrs. Linika. You just need Linika, right? To be able to get a job. So you should have those kind of job profiles. See, the idea is, as organizations, all policies that are happening is basically to remove the bias. अब मैं आपको जेंडर न्यूट्रल वॉशरूम का एक बहुत सिंपल सा एग्जांपल देती हूँ. आपने जेंडर न्यूट्रल वॉशरूम बना दिया. Anybody who's using the gender neutral washroom, what are you assuming? That person is from the community? But that is not inclusion. So in one of the organization, they said, हमारे जो senior leaders है ना, they go into that washroom. So that you can't judge what does it mean. So that is the stage where we all have to reach. I mean, it is far away, but let's see.
Long way to go, but we'll reach there somewhere.
Yeah, sure.
Sometime.
Yes, please. We will.
What an enriching session it was. I would like to call upon Ms. Nazia Sayed to give mementos to our esteemed panelists as a token of appreciation and gratitude.
We give you the.
Ma'am. I request Kavita ma'am to please come up on the stage. I would also like to call on stage the convener of this conference, Ms. Vijay Lakshmi, to hand over the memento to Ms. Nazia.
Since we'll be starting with the awards now, I'll request that one memento be brought forward for the convener of ISC 2023, Dr. Vijay Lakshmi. May we please present her a memento as a token of our appreciation. Madam, आप आइए बीच में. एक memento लाइए बेटा. I just need to give you a memento. You're the convener. Convener receives it. All right, you take over. I'm seeing you.
This is to inform that the quiz is live on Moodle. Please attempt. We will shortly begin with the Catalyst Award ceremony. Kindly be seated, everyone. inclusive and diverse workplace.
It's now time to reward organizations, those who have made significant contributions towards promoting diversity and inclusion in their workplace. I would like to call upon Dr. Vijay Lakshmi Singh, Associate Professor, Jaipuria Institute of Management, Lucknow, and IIC convener to introduce the awards. Can we have a huge round of applause, please?
Good evening, everyone. So yes, now we have the last but definitely not the least segment for the day today, the awardee segment. And we are glad that representatives of various organizations are here right from, representation from agriculture, entrepreneurship, technology, retail, and technology, robotics that we have, and several other, walks of life. And they have all made a great achievement being on the path of diversity and inclusion in terms of trying to build in practices to, build inclusion at the workplace. So we will go through the details for each one of them. And without taking more time, I would like to please start announcing the awardees. And thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to call Dr. Kavita Pathak, Director, Jaipuria Institute of Management, Lucknow, on stage to present the awards. Can we have a good...
Huge round of applause. Confusion.
I would request all the awardees to kindly stay back for the group photo. To begin with, we have
an organization which is run by a young Indian entrepreneur and a dynamic team of young people which collects temple flowers waste dumped in rivers in Kanpur and also use flowers from temples across India to create useful products such as rose incense cone, perfumes, etc. We are talking about Fool.co. We would like to call upon Ms. Pavni Khandelwal on stage to accept the token of appreciation. आगे करो. Yes, yes. आगे करो. आ गया. बस. Next. सही. We appreciate the initiative of your organization for empowering vulnerable people and protecting our precious river from contamination. This social company also employed Dalit women and empowered the marginalized by providing them with economic stability and a respectful work environment. Fool.co has provided scores of women with a life of dignity despite having the ability to automate the process. Thank you, ma'am, for enlightening us with your presence. She was in a hurry.
Our next awardee is an organization which has contributed in building diversity and inclusion in their organization by recognizing the efforts of the acid attack survivors and being an inspiration to womankind by giving a better life. Yes, we are talking about Shiro's Hangout. I request our awardees to make their way to stage to receive their well-deserved recognition. Shiro's Hangout is an Indian coffee house and community founded by Chow Foundation and maintained by acid attack survivors. The cafe's mission is to raise awareness about acid assaults and to empower acid attack survivors. There are currently 2 cafes in Agra and Lucknow. Shiro's Hangout provided a safe haven for women to discover acceptance, companionship, and a source of money. Several of the women are now the major breadwinners in their households. On Women's Day, the president presented them with Nari Shakti Award. Thank you, ma'am.
The next award is for an organization which is known for its handicrafts and brings weaves and handicrafts directly from the craftsperson across the country. I would like to invite Mr. Arman from Sanat Kada to receive the Catalyst Award. Sanat Kada is an Urdu word that literally translates as House of Art. A space for people of diverse backgrounds and identities, Sanat Kada is a feisty, cultural, and creative non-profit organization with a social cause. It is run by a group of dynamic young women from local marginalized communities. Thank you, sir.
Moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, Please join me in welcoming the awardees from Nourished School, which has been doing the noble work of providing quality education to children from marginalized families and making their lives meaningful. I would like to invite Ms. Asha Chadda and team on stage. Nourished is an educational initiative by Dr. M.R. Jaipuria School, Lucknow, to provide an opportunity for underprivileged children to discover their potential and chisel their personalities for a better and brighter future. Nourished made a humble beginning with 49 children in October 2010. Today, they have 250 Nourished children. Nourished believes in diversity in student body, inclusive curriculum, inclusive policies, professional development. Thank you, ma'am. You have served as beacons of hope and inspiration for the society.
Let's move to the next award. We are honored to recognize the efforts of an organization that has been instrumental in revolutionizing public transportation in our city. It has been at the forefront of providing efficient, affordable, and eco-friendly transit services to our citizens. I would like to invite UPMRC team on stage to receive the awards. UPMRC is a government-owned company that is responsible for planning, constructing, and operating metro rail systems in various cities of Uttar Pradesh. UPMRC has taken several initiatives to promote inclusion and diversity in its workforce as well as among its passengers. Here are some of the key initiatives taken by them in this regard: inclusive hiring, gender diversity, barrier-free stations, sensitization programs.
Thank you. Moving forward, we celebrate the accomplishments of Jute Artisans Guild Association for their contribution in building diversity and inclusion in their organization by empowering women morally and monetarily to live a better tomorrow. I would like to request Ms. Anjali Singh, founder and director, and S.P. Singh, director, to kindly join us on stage. It is a voluntary non-profit organization encouraging the rural poor women of districts of Uttar Pradesh like Barabanki and Lucknow to fabricate jute products as their source of livelihood. It is supported by National Jute Board, Ministry of Textiles, Government of India, under Jute Technology Mission 4 and Ministry of MSME and Khadi and Village Industries Commission as nodal agency through the Spurti scheme. Their core values lie in secularism, community, work culture and excellence through their vision of Jute for life. Thank you, ma'am, for outstanding efforts towards diversity and inclusivity in the society.
So forth, it is a privilege to invite Mrs. Sara Fatima from Sara Fatima Designs, which works towards creating sustainable luxury couture. We appreciate your contribution in building diversity and inclusion in your organization by recognizing the dedication and hardworking capabilities for chicken embroidery works. Thank you, ma'am, for being an inspiration for many people like us.
Now it's time to call upon the Drone Man of India, who was awarded by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam for his excellency in robotic invention, none other than Mr. Milind Raj. Please give a huge round of applause. It's an honor to invite such organization which is contributing in building diversity and inclusion in their organization by developing new ideas for robotic technology and bringing a revolutionary in EdTech industry. Robos.intech is an innovation firm that develops state-of-the-art multidimensional robotic systems. They are constantly generating new concepts for drones, agriculture robots, consumer goods, and defense. Their custom robotics solutions provide robots for hospitals, robots for hotels, customized cafe food,
food and automation solutions for kitchens. Thank you, sir, for developing new ideas for robotic technology and bringing a revolution in EdTech.
Moving ahead, now we are celebrating the accomplishments of Lulu Hypermarket Lucknow, whose contribution in building diversity and inclusion in their organization by elevating the whole consumer experience and bringing happiness to all is commendable. I would like to invite Mr. Numan Aziz Khan to receive token of appreciation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Now, we would like to, now it's our pleasure to welcome you all to the prize distribution ceremony for the Anubhuti poster making contest on theme of nesting, diversity and inclusion. Organized by our esteemed institution for the talented students, we are thrilled to see so many creative minds who have put their skills to the test and produced some truly remarkable posters. The third prize goes to Jashreen Swan.
The second prize goes to Shubhshri Gupta.
And finally, first prize goes to Anshita Mishra.
And last but not the least, special mention to Akash for his creative efforts. Please join us on the stage. Can we have a huge round of applause for all the winners, guys? Congratulations to all the winners. Your hard work has paid off, and also want to thank the judges who had done the difficult task of selecting the winners from so many outstanding entries.
We would like to present token of appreciation to those student voices who have offered creative ideas and have contributed significantly on the theme of IIC 23.
The first prize goes to Riya Singh.
For second position, we have a tie. So we have two winners for the same position, Patakshi Srivastava and Navneet Kaur. Kindly join us on the stage, please. I would like to call upon Vijay Lakshmi ma'am to announce the winners for quiz.
Yes, hello everyone. Yeah, hello everyone. So we had 3 rounds of quizzes in between the sessions. And the winners are quiz 1, Vishwa Agarwal. So this is a fastest fingers first and of course the correct answer. Vishwa Agarwal, please come here to receive the appreciation. Quiz number 2, Harsh Mishra. And quiz number 3, Anushka Srivastav.
Kindly maintain the decorum, please. Can we have a huge round of applause? Thank you, ma'am.
I want to extend my gratitude towards our sponsors, session sponsor Axis Bank, conference partner Indian Bank, associate sponsors CP Milk and Foods, radio partner Radio Mirchi, joint sponsors ACC and Lulu Hypermarket.
Now I would like to call Dr. Vijay Lakshmi ma'am on the stage for vote of thanks.
Okay, hello everyone. I know now this would sound a bit boring. Thank you note, but yes, it has to be done. And to finally end the day today. So dear distinguished speakers, awardees, guests, parents, all students, faculty colleagues, officers, staff members of the IC 2023 Conference Committee, Director Madam, and all the other members of this esteemed gathering. I'm honored to stand before you today and express my heartfelt gratitude for your participation in the annual Interdependence, Integration and Co-Creation Conference 2023. Your unwavering support and dedication to making this event a success is truly commendable. The theme of this year's conference, Nesting Diversity and Inclusion as Drivers of Business Growth, was truly insightful and thought-provoking. We started with the director's welcome address, followed by the inaugural panel. I thank Mr. Pulkit Trivedi for delivering the keynote speech that was indeed interesting, with talks about how we all would not like any kind of monotony, as well as about how Google's businesses are actually nested in diversity itself. I also thank Mr. Burli Fanindra, being our guest of honor, for unpacking the nuances of diversity through common corporate workplace examples so well. I also extend my thanks to Mr. Anuj Agarwal for sharing with us how diversity is deeply valued in ICICI through its various initiatives in supporting and uplifting diverse marginalized groups towards building a better quality of life, thanks to the CSR wing ICICI Foundation. Next, I thank Vidushi for wonderfully engaging the audience through her enthusiastic experience sharing, especially around discussing the biases related to diversity and inclusion. Special thanks to Kalashri Amrit Sinha Group for apprising the attendees about the beauty, significance, and reality of embracing diversity as one through a breathtaking dance performance on Ardhanarishwar. Post-lunch, we witnessed a memorable power-packed session on the value of recognizing and accepting others along with individual spirit by Mr. Ashish Vidyarthi. Of course, my type and not my type, of course, I guess we are not going to forget it. I thank him for engaging the audience wonderfully. Next, we had the panel discussion with Mr. Rakesh Makkar, Ms. Linika Khattar, Ms. Meghna Joshi, and Ms. Nazia Syed, where we heard the enriching deliberations around interesting questions on various D&I issues, right from the nuanced meanings, types, new age differences, issues and challenges, as well as measures and solutions in nurturing the D&I cause. I thank all the panelists for their interesting and engaging discussions, and especially thank Ms. Nazia for moderating the panel discussion so well. Finally, I would like to thank all the IIC Catalyst awardees from various walks of life, such as retail, manufacturing, agriculture, technology, infrastructure, entrepreneurship, sustainable waste, for achieving milestones on the path of building D&I in their organizations and business. Special thanks to Shiros, our acid attack survivors, for showing how businesses can be built on the bricks of diversity, for diversity, and by diverse and the marginalized. The discussions and debates that took place were stimulating and engaging, and it is my sincere hope that they will remain as learnings with each one of us present here and pave the way for a more inclusive and diverse future in the business world. I would like to express my sincere thanks to Professor Kavita Pathak, our director, for conceptualizing the IIC conference. Heartfelt gratitude and many thanks and regards to her for providing continuous guidance, support, and encouragement to me as a convener of this conference at every stage and step towards making this a reality. I'm also immensely thankful to all the heads and members of the IIC Conference Committee for their continued support and encouragement. My special thanks to all the eminent speakers, IIC Catalyst awardees, all guests, parents, students, faculty colleagues, officers, and staff members for their encouragement and support. I also extend my thanks to all our event sponsors and the media guests. I extend a special thanks to each member of the IIC Student Task Force and other student group members, especially SDC, involved in organizing this event. I express my humble thanks to our respected chairman, our respected vice chairman, Sri Srivatsji, and the management of Jaipuria Institute of Management for making this event a reality and a grand success. Lastly, I would like to thank all members of this gathering who contributed their time and expertise to make this conference a memorable one. Your presence and active participation helped create an atmosphere of collaboration and exchange of ideas, which is what makes events like this truly valuable. Once again, thank you for your unwavering commitment for making this conference a success. I look forward to the edition of this event and the continued growth and progress that it will bring. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Kindly be seated. Be seated. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words and your constant support throughout this event. Just one more announcement.
So we have 2 days workshop by Dr. Harish Iyer,
Mr. Harish.
Mr. Harish Iyer. So thank you all. With this, we came end to this conference. Thank you all for your support and patience. Thank you.
That is the last one.